You were listening to episode number 63 of the Everything Ham Radio podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the Texas state parks on the air. We're going to talk about some upcoming events and contests, as well as some hamfests for the next 2 weeks, and wrap it up with some news from around the hobby. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Everything Ham Radio podcast. This is episode number 63. Today we're going to be talking about the Texas state parks on the air. And we have a guest today. His name is Paul Estes. His call sign is Kilo 5 Victor Oscar Papa. And he's going to be telling us a little bit about what this event is all about. But before we go into that, I got some stuff I need to tell you all about. First off, you can find the show notes of today's episode, which will have all the information that we're talking about, as well as the links that we're going to be talking about, and a whole bunch of other information at everythinghamradio.com/podcast/63. That's the number 63. You can follow me on Facebook at the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Everything Ham Radio. I also have the page, of course, I still have that at facebook.com/Everything Ham Radio. I'm on YouTube at youtube.com/Everything Ham Radio, and on Twitter at K5CLM. Now, speaking of Facebook, last week we had our Facebook question of the week, and that was what a guest question that was sent to me asking about some standard normalized HF nets. Wanted to know where he could find some to check into, and I played the clip for y'all, and I posted it on Facebook. Got some nice feedback from it, and actually shared the post on another amateur radio group that I belong to, and got a lot of great responses. So thank you all for anybody that responded. And you can go over to the group at everythinghamradio.com/groups/Everything and check out that question. If you would like to post a question that you want answered on the show, or posted on Facebook as the question of the week, you're welcome to do that. If you go to the website everythinghamradio.com, on the right hand side there's a button that you can click on, and then you can record a message to me, and I'll put it on the air like I did last week. This week I have a question that I thought of myself, that I thought was just kind of a really interesting question. I hope that a lot of people will answer it. Really simple, really easy. How long have you had your license? I've had my license now since 1995, so almost 22 years I've had my license. So how long have y'all had y'all's license? That is the question of the week. So head on over to facebook.com/groups/Everything Ham Radio. Again, there's that website address, and answer the question. I really look forward to all of your comments and all of your answers. Definitely. Let's see. Today, like I said, we are talking about Texas state parks on the air, and we are talking with Paul Estes. His call sign is Kilo 5 Victor Oscar Papa. We're going to talk to him in just a minute. But first off, I want to make a quick announcement. I have a new show sponsor starting this episode, and that is Dan Romanchik, KB6NU, author of the No Nonsense Study Guide. You will hear more from him probably next episode, and we're actually doing something a little bit more other than just the podcast sponsorship. He's actually going to be sending over guest segments talking about different questions that are in the question pool. So it'll be a short, like 5-7 minute segment or something like that, and we'll probably have that every other week. So stay tuned for that. It'll be not this coming episode, but probably episode number 65 will probably be the first one. So make sure you tune in for that. I'm sure he's going to have a lot of great information. Awesome guy. Like I said, he is the author of the No Nonsense Study Guide for Technician, General, and Advanced, as well as a CW book as well. He has a monthly column that he sends out to clubs to put in their newsletter, and teaches a whole lot. So Dan is an awesome guy, very well full of knowledge, I guess you could say. So I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and get on to the interview of today. What do you say?
And our repeater in our club, I guess you'd call it headquarters, is in the colony.
Oh, cool. You're not too far from me. I live just west of Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. Well, Kevin, we talk to Kevin all the time over there, if you know K5ORN.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot of the Wires X stuff. I run the node for the club here, K5LRK.
Wow.
So, yep, Laird and Lake Dallas running a node. Myself and Kevin have our own little chat group in Facebook, so we try to keep things running on one Wires X.
There you go. That sounds awesome. Okay, let's see here. Let's see, Paul. Is it Estes?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And what's your call sign?
Kilo 5 Victor Oscar Papa.
Victor Oscar Papa VOP.
Yep.
And are you? What's your title or your function?
Well, right now I'm the secretary in the club, but I run the web page and I climb the tower. I do a lot of things. I'm a multi-titled person, I guess. But I was the one that first, when this whole thing was being run by someone else, our first year, I was the one that kind of took control of getting it organized and getting us all out there. But for this, I guess I'm the secretary of the K5LRK club, I guess.
K5LRK. There you go. All right, let's see. Okay, so basically what I'm thinking, what I typically do, first off, I'm going to, basically if you look at the list of questions that I have, the space in there is each segment. I'm going to break it up into 3 segments and do some editing and stuff later on, but so we'll talk about I'll try and talk about each one of them in each group. It tends to go kind of everywhere sometimes, but
well, that's fine.
That's the general consensus of it. And if there's other questions or whatever that we end up having, then we'll go from there.
Right.
So first off, just I'll introduce you and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of go on into the topic.
Okay.
So just pretend that it's you and me. We're sitting in a coffee shop or something like that, and just having a conversation. Okay.
All righty.
That tends to make it the easiest to get rid of the nerves, I guess you could say.
Okay.
All right. So, are you ready? You take a
Yes,
drink
sir.
or anything
No,
like
I'm
that?
good.
All right. I got my drink out of the way, so here we go. In 3. Sorry about that. 2 and 1. Hey everybody, I am here with Paul Estes. His call sign is Kilo 5 Victor Oscar Papa. He is the secretary and webmaster of the K5LRK club, who is the club that is responsible for the upcoming event this weekend, which is Texas State Parks on the Air. This kind of caught my eye a little bit because, last year we had the National Parks on the Air, and it was so great. And I found this while I was going through the upcoming contest segment for last week's episode, and I thought this would be a really great topic to talk about before the event this week, so we can kind of get a little bit of information about, maybe have a little bit better participation. So, Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the hobby, what you do, and what you like to do, and stuff like that.
All right. Thanks again, Curtis, and we really appreciate having us on here to help us get the word out on the event. I started in 2013. I had gone back to school for emergency management, got involved with the CERT program in Dallas, and I got an email mentioning ham radio, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to help with emergency communications. So I got into it not thinking much about it, but 3-4 years later here, I'm a secretary of the club. I'm climbing towers, running the website, and loving everything about ham radio. So I'm the secretary for the Lake Area Amateur Radio Club there in the Colony, Texas for the last year. Elections are coming up, so that may be the end of my reign as secretary. But I just enjoy it, and so excited to be on the air with you and excited to talk about Texas State Parks on the Air.
Well, if your club is anything like my club, you might be railroaded into something more higher. I started out as the technical director, which basically did the website and stuff like that, and the net control and stuff. And now I'm vice president of it. I just kind of climbed the ladder a little bit. So, if your club is anything like mine, watch out.
Yeah, I better watch out for the election committee. I'll just have to steer clear of them.
Right, there you go. So you said that you went back to school for emergency management. Do you do that as a career?
Well, I work for American Airlines. That's what pays the bills. But as I change careers, as I'm changing careers, I went back to school, got my undergrad, my graduate degree in emergency management, and now I work in an intern position or assistant position to the emergency manager here in Little Elm at the fire station. So we do a lot of things. I've been there for almost 2 years. So we do a lot of things here, planning, preparing, responding to disasters in the area. We were part of the search for the father who unfortunately lost his life in Denton Creek a few weeks ago.
Ooh, wow.
And so it's another thing I thoroughly enjoy right now is trying to help other people prepare, plan for their families and communities to help mitigate disaster damages and effects on them and the community.
Right. So how did you get started in amateur radio?
I'm trying to think. The first time I went to a club meeting, first of all, it was the McKinney Club where I took the test in 2013. And again, didn't think much of it. And I don't recall what sparked my attention or interest in the club, but I found the local club, the Lake Area Amateur Radio Club in the Colony, and I said, "Oh, there's a meeting. This is the closest one." So I went. And I remember Lee Norup talking about W5. I'm going to forget his name. K5WXR, I believe, his call. And I sat down. We were at a VFW small little room, and he was talking about portable power and LED, solar power, and all these things. And I thought, wow, this is some great information. And it just kind of grew from there. So I don't really have a specific thing that put me into ham radio other than the initial getting my license through the emergency management realm that I was currently studying at the time.
Oh, wow. I just love hearing stories of how people came into the hobby. There's some that come in like me and you, come in for the community service aspect of it. And there's others that are, DIYers and others that just, like to talk on the radio. The stories overlap so much, but just veer off in totally different directions when they become hams. I really enjoy hearing those stories. So, well, let's go ahead and talk about the Texas State Parks on the Air. So what exactly is the Texas State Parks on the Air?
Well, this is going to be an event. It's a couple years old, and it's going to be an event like most others. It'll be held annually, and it'll provide basically an opportunity for radio operators to take their gear, how I put it on the website, into the wild of the Texas State Parks. And, of course, they can bring friends and family and go camping and enjoy fishing and other things. So it's not just about radio, but it's a way to merge the two things I personally enjoy, which is camping and ham radio. So it'll be kind of a test of their equipment, similar to that of maybe winter field day or field day where you can bring mobile or outdoor gear and set it up, hang antennas in trees or what have you. And we'll have competing stations, individuals or clubs, and they'll be making contacts between state parks as the primary goal. But of course, any contact made is encouraged, and something that the contest can offer operators is kind of the challenges of that emergency preparedness as far as emergency communications goes, with go boxes or mobile radios or antenna setups being used, and it's really good practice for emergency communication setup and use. So it can also, and we've had some experiences with this, is it helps acquaint even the general public, other campers in the area with the capabilities of amateur radio, and that it's not dead, that it's actually thriving. And we put up our club banner, and we've have people walking by asking questions, and so it's a great opportunity also to get the word out about amateur radio. But ultimately, the event is about having fun at a state park with family, friends, and radio gear.
So do you ever have any kind of issues with the staff there, or you?
Not at all. We actually went there thinking they knew, and when we were signing up initially, there's a couple of us that go early so we can get better spots. One guy knew about it. I guess he was there before, and the other people didn't. And I've been trying to find a way to contact them to let them know that it's going, but they only had phone numbers, and I was really hoping to find an email to be able to send an email and some links. But I know the local park here at Lake Ray Roberts, where we've been, is they should be familiar with it. We've been there 2 years now, so hopefully other parks will also be familiar. But if not, we've made the rules such that they kind of abide by the quiet times at the parks, and we haven't had an issue that we've heard about in the couple of years that we've been running or that we've been attending the event.
That's good. I know back last year during the National Parks of the Area events, there was a lot of stipulations on when you could put or where you could put antennas. I mean, is there those kind of stipulations as well in the state parks? Not putting stuff into trees, stuff like that.
No, there's no stipulation whatsoever on antennas. You can hang it in a tree. You can put it on a tower. You can run it. You can run it out of the back of your truck or in your tent. We just want to make sure people are safe. They're not putting towers up that if something were to happen, that it maybe falls on a neighboring camper or something. So we want to make sure we definitely operate safe practices, but no stipulations on what you can or cannot put up for an antenna.
That's good. Just as long as you leave the area cleaner than it was when you got there, right?
Definitely.
So you said this had been running for a few years. How did it get started?
Well, actually, we are not the originators of this contest. It actually started recently, though, in 2013. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of information on the beginnings other than that it was 2013, and the operator who sponsored it was Tom King. He was a ham out of Houston, WK5DX, and I had to search the QST to find him because he went silent key on March 28th of 2015. We had ham in our club that knew of him and knew his name but not his call. So I dug through a few QSTs and found his name in the September QST. So he went silent key in 2015. And about mid-2016, we heard about his passing. And we were looking forward to the next event. And we were kind of upset that, this is so unfortunate that he passed away because we loved this event that he created. So we decided to pick up the torch and run with it.
Awesome.
So beginning in August of last year, we'd heard that we didn't hear anything about any other clubs taking the reins. So we brought it up to our club in the meeting and decided whether or not to take it over and continue. And I think because we really enjoyed this event the prior 2 years, we decided to pick it up. Remembering we had nothing on the previous event. His website was down. There was no one to contact. He was running this thing solo, which amazes me because it's an incredible task to take on solo. We've been doing it as a club, and it's an incredible task. So we're starting from scratch. But one of our members, Tim Curtis, KC5DCT, he was the lucky or unlucky person in the club who raised his hand to take on the major task and spearhead this entire endeavor, getting the word out to other clubs, getting it out to the ARRL, putting the rules together. Because we had nothing. So I got to work on the website, and after a couple of months, we had the website up. We had a basic set of rules, and we've been tweaking them. We're still tweaking them, and we'll probably still have some tweaks, and we'll submit a final one on the website tomorrow or the next day. We just want to make sure the event is as improved and streamlined as possible. So I'm very happy to say that I think we've successfully picked up the torch from Tom King, and we're going to carry it forward, and hopefully everyone that participates will have a good time. And a special thanks to Tim, KC5DCT, and all his hard work, and the others who've helped us out. It's what's allowing us to be able to carry this forward. So there may still be some things we need to tweak or improve, but it's up and running and hopefully be successful.
Awesome. So speaking of the website, I forgot to do this before. Where can they find your website at?
So they can go to tspota.org, Texas State Parks on the Air, and all the information will be there. There's a page that will give the rules. There's a page that shows the activations. Let's see.
Yeah, I noticed the last couple times I've looked at it several times over the past week and a half or so, and you've actually gotten quite a few more registrations than I say, and that kind of leads me to my next question. Do you have to register for this event in order to participate in it beforehand?
Yeah, there's no need to register anything. The only thing we do ask is if you want to activate a park, that you go ahead to the website, click the activate link, Mike, and just input the information there, and all that does is just help us kind of get an idea of what parks are activated so that when we do the scoring, we'll know which ones were activated and which ones are legitimate contacts. But no registration is needed.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually looking through the list, I guess maybe the first time, right after I contacted you, and the last club on the list at the time was the Texas Emergency Amateur Communicators. It was TEAC, and they're in Kingwood, Texas. The club that I belong to and helped start about 20 years ago now, is actually TAEC. So like, what? I don't remember voting on anything.
So you were thinking it was them.
Yeah, I kind of had to do a double take, and I'm like, okay, we're not in Kingwood either. So what's going on?
Yeah, something's wrong with this picture.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very interesting. So, what kind of participation do you have normally?
Well, I didn't have a counter on the website till early March, and since then we've got over 2,300 hits. And like you said, it was just recently we've got some more. So we've got about 20 parks activated as of now, and I'm hoping that a few more. My goal was 20, so I've hit my goal.
There you go.
That was just a personal goal. I wanted to see 20. Hopefully we'll get a few more before it starts this weekend. But when we attended the first year, we had, I think, 20 or so of us show up off and on. Some camped, some came out just for the day. But our second year, we had over 40 people show up. And we had one of our hams bring out different antennas. We had a satellite antenna that was self-manipulating. It was we had a lot more fun the second year. So we were hoping for even a greater show for this year. And again, because we don't have any final count from any previous website, I don't know how extensive park activation they had prior to us taking this over.
Right. Well, it'll be good to maybe revisit this after the event is over with, and maybe have you back on here and we can talk a little bit more on how we did and what we can do to make next year even better.
That would be great.
So, what kind of frequencies and modes is allowed during this contest? Can you use anything? Is there some kind of stipulations?
Well, we've got, again, this is the first time as a club we've put something together, so we were kind of taking from other contests and events. There's actually I think Florida State Parks has an event, and there's some other state park events. So basically any frequency excluding the 60, 30, 17, and 12 meters, and it's an all-mode event. We didn't want to have many limitations because we wanted operators to be able to utilize various options to make contacts instead of limiting them to one mode. This way, regardless of what mode an operator enjoys, whether it's CW, digital, or voice, they can operate in that mode, and I think that'll increase the fun of the whole event and hopefully the amount of contacts someone can make.
Absolutely. I some of the contests that I see, and I don't know if you listen to my podcast or not, but I do a contest segment a little later in the episode, and some of the contests I see, it's only CW or only single sideband or only digital or PSK31 or whatever, and it's like that's great to have that kind of contest, but it really lacks your participation because I don't have PSK31 or RTTY, or I'm really not great at CW, so single sideband is pretty much my thing as of right now. So it's good to hear that it's more than just one thing,
Definitely.
And then they can use it for anything. So let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we're going to come back and continue our talk with Paul. And we're going to talk about the scoring and what kind of options there are there. So we'll be right back. Are you tired of lousy propagation conditions and wondering how to work some real DX for a change? Maybe you spin the dial and wonder what's going on below the voice segment of the HF bands. The answer is you're missing out. You're missing out on digital modes, a rapidly growing and exciting part of amateur radio. Work real DX with the incredible JT65 and JT9 modes. It's no exaggeration when I tell you, you will workstations you never thought possible, even using low power and compromised antennas. Have fun making new contacts in modes such as PSK31, Olivia, Radio Teletype, Slow Scan TV, and many more. The Rig Blaster Advantage is everything you need to operate these exciting digital modes. Made right here in the US, the Rig Blaster interface has set the standards for nearly 20 years. Thousands of satisfied operators have learned their Rig Blaster Advantage will provide solid digital communications, easy operating, and reliability. Don't miss out on the fun and excitement any longer. Head on over to everythinghamradio.com/WMR for more information and learn how to get your free USB port monitor with your purchase. And we are back. Again, we are talking with Paul Estes, K5VOP. He's a secretary and webmaster of the K5LRK Club, and we're talking about Texas State Parks on the Air. In the last segment, we talked about what exactly the event is all about. This segment, we're going to talk about what the scoring is and how you figure out your points and stuff like that. So first off, Paul, how does the scoring actually work?
Okay, again on this, we're taking it from other contests, trying to keep it somewhat general and follow suit with to others. So we will probably still have some category tweaks today and tomorrow before we actually have it final, because there was some question with how to categorize some of the activations. But simply, you're going to need the exchange is the contacted call sign, signal report that you received, plus one of the following, and that'll be, if you're activated in a park, it's going to be a park designator number. If you are in Texas but not activating a park, it'll simply be your abbreviated state, so TX. And stations outside of Texas will use the abbreviation for their state, province, Canadian province, or maritime region. And any stations outside of those areas will just list DX, will be their locator or their designator. And so what we'll have is it'll be QSO points are 2 points per CW or digital, and QSO is 1 point per phone. So we're giving more points to CW or digital. And multipliers will be, if you contact a Texas State Park, that's a multiplier of 1 per park. And so you can't, let's say 2 people have activated 1 park, you can't get 2 points. You can get 1 point per park as a multiplier. And if you are running QRP, that's 10 watts or less, that's 3 times multiplier, so big bonus for that one. Wow. And low power will be 150 watts or less, that's a 2 times bonus. And high power or over 150 watts is a 1 time multiplier. And just so that those out there that know it, and it's on the website, rules is if you're activating a park, you cannot use high power. You can only use QRP or low power, so 150 watts or less for those who activate a park. So basically your total score will be a total of your QSOs times the total park multiplier and the total power multiplier to get your total score.
Okay. So if you do... if you're using, say, 2 stations and one of them's running phone and one of them's running CW, then only the CW contacts multiplies times 2 and the phone multiplies times 1, and then you add them together, basically?
Yeah, it's going to be, you're going to be able to get the multiplier making more than 1 contact. Again, so if two clubs are in 1 park, you're going to get 1 multiplier for the park. But if you contact different clubs on different bands, different modes, you're going to get those multipliers. So if you contact a club on SSB, say 20 meters, you're going to get the multiplier for that. And then if you contact them or another club in the same park, you're going to get the CW, or you can add the other multiplier to that as well.
Okay, cool. Well, is there any bonus points that y'all have?
Well, there's no other than the multipliers. We don't really have any bonus points. We've got it set up to have a Texas Club Aggregate Award. We don't have a certificate. I'm no artist. I wish I could set something up. We hopefully will have things for next year so that people can print out certificates. And we might be able to get something for the Texas Club Aggregate Award and that's the Texas club that makes the most points. But no bonus points other than the multipliers that we just talked about.
So whether you're working off a generator, whether you're working off of solar power, or whether you're working off a commercial main, there's no real difference for bonuses.
No, there isn't, and we will probably change that for next year because personally, my personal radio will actually be solar power and battery, and so we will probably add some kind of a bonus to units that do something like that.
Okay. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really like about like field day. If you invite a elected official, you get 100 points. If you put a thing in the newspaper, you get 100 points. If you have a public information desk or something like that, you get 100 points. It kind of helps spread the word a little bit to other people other than just amateur radio operators.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And after having experienced some non-hams coming by and asking us questions, I think that could be a great, like having a PIO officer and, maybe some other things. Definitely the solar or battery power, because that's what we do on our field day. Every year we use generator power. So we will add those next year again, starting from scratch. We try to get as much done as we could. And I'm sure we'll get a lot of feedback. We're hoping to get a lot of feedback. And we will get this thing much more improved for next year. But we wanted to make sure it was at least running this year.
Right. So you mentioned that more than one club can activate one park. Can a club activate more than one park during the event? Can you work for 5 hours and get 10 QSIS from this one and then move somewhere else?
I don't see why not. We have no restriction on that. We've also got one of our club members who was actually Tim, who spearheaded this, is going to be activating a different park with his daughter than we are here at the club. So he can take that club and work, let's say, Saturday in one park and then activate another one in another park. We don't have any restrictions like that. The idea is really to kind of open it up so that people can do almost anything they want and activate as many parks as possible.
Mm-hmm. And that might be something to look into as far as like, maybe bonus points or something goes. If you activate more than one park during the event, then you can get a bonus or something.
Yeah, that's another great suggestion. So I'm going to have all these written down by the end of the night, and it's going to be sufficient this year, but it's going to be fantastic next year.
Right. Absolutely. It's awesome that y'all are taking up the range for this. I know, stuff like this is not easy to do. Just with we recently had a event here locally. We had the, the 150th anniversary of Texas, I think. Mm-hmm. And my club registered the call sign, and I believe it was W5T, I think. And we ran for like a week or something like that, doing the special event station. And that was, hard enough, but I can only imagine what it's taken y'all to run this whole event. And then the aftermath is going to be even tougher, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, we've all pitched in, and some of us have done different things at different levels, but Tim has earned his stripes on this one.
Might have to give him a raise.
Definitely.
So, do you have to activate a park for so long before you can say that you activated it, or is it just
not at all? You can show if you only have a couple hours to go out, set up a radio and an antenna and activate. We're excited that you activated even for a couple hours, and that kind of helps us as far as the activation sign up. We don't have like a time slot. I just put in dates, so that'll probably be another thing we change next year or add to the sign up sheet. It'll be hours, so that way, like you're saying, if a club moved to a different park, they can say we're going to be at this park and between these hours, and then we're going to be at that park at these hours. So that'll probably be something we add next year. But no, there's no limitation, no minimum, no maximum. How many hours you want to work at any single park.
Okay. Also, you might look into saying, if you make contact with, 20 parks, you get this type of award or something like that.
Oh, yep, definitely. We're gonna probably have. So currently, we just have the Texas Aggregate Award, and that's whoever Texas club or a single person that gets the most points. So we'll probably have a few others. There will be probably have a participation certificate, a who contacted the most park certificate, or maybe even what club or person activated the most parks certificates. So hopefully, I don't know that I can't promise that we'll get something like that done before awards are submitted. It would be great if we could over the next month, but we will definitely have it for next year.
Okay. It just dawned on me that here we are, 25 minutes into this interview, and nobody knows when it is. When exactly is the contest? When does it start, and how long is it run for?
Well, there was actually a little bit of a confusion there with ARRL because of the way we worded it in the rules. It actually, the way we worded the time is going to be applicable starting next year. So that confused some people, and I think QST put us down for last weekend, the 1st and 2nd. But it is actually going to be this weekend, the 8th and 9th, and because we're trying to stay within the quiet hours of the park, we don't want people running radios at night. It's going to be running from 1400 on Saturday the 8th to 0200, and then on Sunday, and it'll be shut down at night. Now this is all, of course, Zulu time, and then Sunday again from 1400 Zulu to 2000 Zulu. And I don't know if everybody will stay out that late, that long or not, but that's the timeline we have set up.
Okay, so this weekend. So if you, I know this is a really late notice for all y'all listeners out there, but if you want to go out and set up a park and you live here in Texas, you're welcome to do so. And make sure you head over and let them know that you're going to be activating it, at least after the fact, if nothing else.
Yep, just take a drive and go set up and activate. And if you don't activate on the website, you can let us know afterwards, or we'll probably contact you and we'll know you activated. So we're not overly concerned. It just helps us out.
Right. Well, is there anything that we did not cover as far as scoring or points or anything like that goes?
No, I think we're still trying to work on some categories because not being able to have gotten any logging software set up in time for this so that the specific event is in there. So we're going to probably tweak the categories today and tomorrow and have that out, but we will have those out. But it'll most likely be your standard single operator, multi-operator choices, your power choices, how many transmitters you have, and we'll probably have operational classes or categories for next year, and that will allow us to create some perhaps bonuses and different certificates or awards.
How do people that do activate one of these parks or participate in this event, how do they turn in their logs after the fact?
They're going to be submitting logs that are Cabrillo formatted. We're going back to that question on our technicians test. We got to know what Cabrillo is. So to help us out, we're only going to accept electronically submitted Cabrillo format files, and that will go to info@tspota.org, and that link again is on the website. It shows you here's where you submit your logs. And on that note, I have to big shout out to Bruce Horns at hornicopia.com. He has he I don't think it's up yet. He's shown me the test, and I've been testing it. He will have his Cabrillo format web entry at bravo4hotel.net. He should have that up before the contest starts, and that will be for Texas State Parks on the Air. It'll be listed on his website. And for those who use paper logs, they can submit, or they can input all their information and then be able to submit a Cabrillo formatted log through him. And that will be the only person that I have gotten a hold of to be able to have any kind of a logging assistance or Cabrillo format assistance software.
Awesome. And when do they need to be submitted by?
And let's see. I think May 31st. Let me double check here. Yep, May 31st. So just got to get those submitted before then.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. We're going to take another quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to finish up our interview with Paul, and we'll go from there. So everybody, y'all hang tight. We'll be right back. All right, so real quick, and I'll get back to the interview here in just one second, but I wanted to mention this. If you do not have QSL cards, you should head on over to the KB3 IHF QSL card website. There is a link in the show notes of today's episode to that, but this guy, Randy, has some awesome QSL cards that he makes, very high quality, and he has some other stuff too as well that you can make personalized with your call sign. He's got coasters and mugs and plaques you can put your license on, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So make sure you head on over to his website and check that out. I'm actually also working with him to make some swag stuff for this podcast. I'm making some coasters, coffee mugs, travel mugs, license plates, a wall clock, I believe, and a couple other things as well. So stay tuned to future episodes to find out more about that. But make sure if you want a QSL card, you go to his website and check it out. When you place your order, make sure that you tell him that you heard from him about him on the Everything Ham Radio podcast. And if you do, I will get a small affiliate commission for sending you his way. So please make sure you do that. Head on over there, check him out if you don't have QSL cards or anything else that he has in his on his website. So let's go ahead and get back to the interview. All right, and we are back. Again, we are talking with Paul Estes, Kilo 5 Victor Oscar Papa. We're talking about Texas State Parks in the Air, which comes up this weekend, as a matter of fact. So I'm sure that you've heard over the past 30 minutes or so what this thing is all about and what the scoring is all about. And hopefully, even though it is very short notice, hopefully you can go out to one of your state parks if you live here in Texas and activate it, operate for an hour or two, make some contacts and have some fun. And go out with the family, do some playground fun or some hiking and stuff, and bring your ham radio along with you and make some contacts. That's what this hobby is all about. So, Paul, we touched a little bit in the last segment about logging and stuff like that. Do y'all have any programs so far that have this built in?
Unfortunately, we don't. Now, there's a couple options. Of course, we talked about the paper logging and the Cabrillo format, but if my understanding, and I haven't done it myself, this is another ham in the club, pulled up N1MM for the previous Texas State Park on the Air, and you can't input the full park designator that we have because ours is 4 digits. I guess it only had 3 digits before, so if you want to use N1MM, and it can the old Texas State Parks, you can just put in the number of the park. You do not need the P, the papa, before that, and we can work with that. If you have software like Ham Radio Deluxe, which I've used quite extensively, I know you can create a contest. So you can create the contest, label it Texas State Parks on the Air, and you can put in the fields that you need, again, which is the call sign, the signal report, and then a designator. Hopefully next year we will get N1MM to update that software, and hopefully maybe with Ham Radio Deluxe or N3FJP to where we have specifically tailored for our contest will be available.
Very interesting. Now with Ham Radio Deluxe, I've never used the program. I've heard a lot about it, but I've never used it, and I didn't realize you could make a custom contest. Can you design that and export it where people can go to your website and download that contest to import into their logging software?
That is a very good question because I have never tried that. I will be playing with that tomorrow. Thank you, Curtis. I thought I had a day off. I will be playing with that now. If I can get that to work, that would be excellent. So that's a great suggestion. I'm going to. I've only set it up for myself. I've never tried to export a contest like that. I'll give it a try.
So much for your vacation.
Yeah. Okay.
So now we talked about a little bit that you don't actually have the thing. Now, can you use things like the N3 FJP software or M1NN or whatever that is? Can you, if there's not one you can custom make yourself or that's already there, can you just use any logging software and maybe put the park designator in the comment field or something like that? Yeah,
that would be totally acceptable. So if you pull up something that is at least close to what we need, those three things for the contact, if there's something not for designator or park number, yes, put it in the comments, and when we look it over, we will figure it out. I have not looked at other state parks logging software. I know Florida State Park recently had one. If the logging software for, say, Florida State Park has what we need or has a section in there to put a park designator, utilize it and submit it that way. We will figure it out.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that the logs need to be in a Cabrillo. I can never say that word.
I'm hoping I pronounce it right with Cabrillo. I've always pronounced it Cabrillo.
That sounds a whole lot better when I just butchered. So, I don't really know exactly how that is. Do you have a example on your website that people can use?
I don't. I'll have the link for Bruce. Excuse me. I forgot the name. B4H.net. It's b4h.net/cabforms. CABFORMS. I'll have that link on the website, and it's pretty easy to understand. It has drop-down menus. And when you submit your information for your station, all you have to do is follow the example above the text where you write in box, and just type in the same sequence that the example above it is. So I can definitely put a little image of it online on the website to give an example. But you'll type in, I believe it's the frequency, so it'll be like 20 meter, and then you just have to hit one space. You don't have to tab or 5 spaces. Hit one space, put in the call sign, one space, put in the time, one space, put in the mode, and it separates it. It's an excellent thing that Bruce Horns has done, and it will it'll format it in a beautifully aligned email that you will get yourself, and you can submit it then to us.
Okay. So for y'all that don't want to manually do it, make sure you head on over to that website. That's b4h.net/cabforms. And I will have a link to that in the show notes of today's episode as well. So I guess that pretty much is all I can think about as far as the logging goes. Is there anything else that you can think of as for the logging?
No, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that again, you have till May 31st, and right now that our form on that on that b4h.net is still in test mode. So as soon as Bruce finalizes whatever he needs to do to finalize it, it will be up and listed among the other contests. But we see that everyone's going to be flexible with us in our endeavor to do this and be new at it. So we will certainly be flexible with everybody else. Submit it the best you can in that Cabrillo type format. This is a good time to brush up on what Cabrillo format is if you don't know what it is. But Bruce's website, b4h.net, makes it very simple. I've never used it before, and he sent me the test link. I tested it and was able to submit it, and was impressed by how it formats it without me having to format it.
That's very awesome. Very awesome. So again, send your logs to info@tspota.org, and again, there will be a link on the show notes of today's episode by May 31st, 2017, to get that put into him. Bruce, sorry about that.
I said Bruce so much. You think we're talking to now?
Yeah, I guess. So, Paul, before we wrap this interview up, is there any interesting stories that you've had? You said you've worked several of these before. Any interesting stories or funny stories that you want to share with the listeners?
Well, we actually do have a couple. I mean, when we set up before the contest, I believe it was before it actually started, we had our MCOMS trailer set up, and it's got lights and everything, which brought a lot of people and gave us a lot of exposure. And we had one of our club members, Michael K5VOP, he's just on there playing around, and we had an immediate contact to New Zealand. So I'm thinking that's our farthest contact from the park, and we were very ecstatic to do that. Yeah, and that was with I can't think of the brand, just a corkscrew antenna on the MCOMS trailer. I mean, it was incredible. So that was exciting, and our longest contact. And then I was playing around on 20 meters, and we had another ham in the club, John, AF5VO, was about 20 or 30 feet away from me, and we made a personal contact on 20 meters at about 20 meters away, and that's our shortest contact, so that was funny.
So you had a 20-meter contact 20 meters away. That's
Basically, yeah.
that's wow.
So there's our longest and shortest contact when we were doing this event. And the funniest thing on this was middle of the night, and I didn't know this was even allowed or legal, but I guess they have night fishing out here on the lake. I don't know if they're using bow and arrow or what they do, but it sounded like an airplane landing behind us because we were right next to Lake Ray Roberts. And 2 or 3 times at the night, it sounded like an airplane landing behind our tent. And come to find out, it's these guys hunting, I assume, with bow and arrow off of an airboat. And I guess they can do it at night. And so wow. I was kind of blown away by the noise that was allowed by that when, campers are supposed to be quiet. But I guess they can't put regulation on the lake like that. But there's some crazy things to see and do out there. And I hope that people get out and participate and have some fun.
Yeah. So is there any tips that you can give people that might want to set up on setting up stations in a state park?
Well, we actually go early because if we don't, we probably wouldn't get the location and the sites together. We actually get 4 sites this year to be able to accommodate everybody. But we go early, so going early and getting the sites you want is good. And you probably want to get a site that doesn't have a lot of cover. I mean, that's something we're in a big open area. We're actually close to the showers and toilets and things, so that's nice.
Most.
Yes, you want that, and that helps a lot of the wives go camping as well. They enjoy the showers, so that's a plus for them. We tend to stay in an open area. We've gotten the same spot 2 years in a row. We plan on getting the same spot this year. So look for a place that's open, that gives you ample room if you're going to put up a tower so that there's no chance that it might fall or hurt any campers nearby. Just look at safety and look for a location that you think would be conducive to having an antenna and give you good reception.
Now, in your experience, is there any issues that you've come across for can people set up in like a day use area or, just go in for the day and not have to actually rent a campsite?
Oh, certainly. You can go in. And again, I can't recall the fees for day use or overnight camping, but if you got a season pass, of course you get in for free, I believe. But there's no limitation that the campground has ever told us. Of course, we set up in the overnight camp, but I don't see any issue with setting up an antenna or radio for day use. Again, you can always check with the park when you check in, but I have a feeling that most of the employees will probably not even know what you're talking about.
Right. So I guess maybe next year we need to have some kind of campaign or advertising campaign, something like that, to kind of spread the word a little bit to the state parks like the ARRL did to the national parks this last year.
Yes, definitely. And again, I should have called because that's the only thing I could find. I was hoping to get an email. I'm just better at emailing and sending information all packaged in an email. Never could find it. So I may just call and just hopefully they can get the word out, some kind of a bulletin maybe, and let people know that we're coming out.
Right. Well, Paul, I think that about wraps it up. Is there anything else that you want to say? Or?
Well, I'd just like to thank, other thing I forgot about. We have a photos page. And a few guys in Texas, I sent an email out and got a few photos from some of the guys who have participated and done it in the past. So I put some photos up. But if you'd like to submit some photos, just a couple of photos, pick your best ones, we would be glad to accept those and put them on the website for future. And maybe even down the road, have a photo contest, a best photo or something. You can submit those as well to webmaster@tspota.org. And I want to thank you, Curtis, for having us on tonight and getting the word out about Texas State Parks on the air. So on behalf of the club, we appreciate you and your time and hope that this gets out to more people and we get more operators out there enjoying the parks and enjoying ham radio.
Absolutely. And just, for the most part, yes, this is a ham radio event, but just remember that, going out with your family and enjoying nature, that's That's really what it's all about. And if you get a couple contacts on ham radio, that's even more. So
That's exactly what it's about. So
if you can go out in your car and you have an HF in your car and make a couple contacts and spend the rest of the afternoon with your family, hey, more power to you.
sounds good.
Yeah. So, Paul, thanks again for coming on. I do appreciate it. And thank you for letting everybody know all this great information about the Texas State Parks in the Air. And hopefully you will have a awesome turnout this year and an even better one next year. And thank you for taking up the reins on this as well. Hopefully next year I will have my station set up and can participate in this, or even better, I have 2 state parks within 20 miles of me, so maybe next year I can talk my club into doing this now that I know about it.
Well, there you go.
So, Paul, thank you very much, and I do greatly appreciate it, and I guess 73 to you, sir.
73, Curtis, we appreciate it. Take care.
All right, guys, so again, I want to thank Paul for coming on to talk about Texas State Parks on the Air, and I apologize for such short notice. Like I said in the interview, I didn't find out about it until actually last week when I was doing the upcoming contests and events. Shame on me because, here it is right here in Texas. But like I've said before, I'm not really an HF guy. I'm not a contester guy, so I don't know a whole bunch about it. But I plan on doing it hopefully next year, participating in it, so we'll see what happens then. So in the Ham blog spotlight, I found a really neat little YouTube video, and he talks about how to build a ham radio mic that is attached to a boom arm, and it has a DIY hand PTT. And you can build this and buy it for less than $60. So you can buy a microphone, a boom arm, shock mount, and make a PTT button for less than $60. So make sure you head on over to the show notes and watch that video. Really neat video on how to do it, and it really comes in handy. You don't have to, actually use your hand on the mic to press the PTT. You set the mic where you want to, and away you go. That's actually the way that I have my setup now, doing this recording of this podcast. It's on a boom arm, and I have the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 that the guys over at Ham Radio 360 podcast was nice enough to give me for Christmas last year. So, really comes in handy and really nice. And I'm sure you can probably modify the way that he does it to do a foot switch or something like that if you prefer a foot switch over a hand switch, which I do. Being as a 911 operator, it comes in handy to have 2 hands to type with instead of just one. But make sure you check out that video. Really awesome video. And yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about our upcoming events. All right, so for our upcoming event segment, we have a few of them, not a whole bunch. I also want to mention that all the times that I am going to be given are going to be in Zulu time, so make sure you make the appropriate time corrections when you're looking to participate in some of these events. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, we have the SARL 80 meter QSO party that is going to be on April the 6th from 1700 to 2000 hours. The JIDX CW contest is on April the 8th from 700 hours to the 9th at 1300. Next, we have the QRP ARCI Spring QSO Party. It is on the 8th from 1200 hours to the 9th at 2359. And the interview of today, we talked about the Texas State Parks on the Air. Again, that is on April the 8th from 1400 to 200 hours on the 9th, and then follow on the 9th from 1400 to 2000 hours. Next, we have the New Mexico QSO Party, April the 8th from 1400 hours to 200 hours on the 9th. We have the Georgia QSO Party from April the 8th at 1800 hours to 359 on the 9th, and then also from 1400 hours to 2359. We have the Yuri Garganian International DX Contest on April the 8th from 2100 hours to 2100 hours on the 9th. Next, we have the International Vintage Contest on HF, and that is on April the 9th from 700 hours to 1100 hours, and then from 1300 hours to 1900 hours. Looks like they took a break for lunch. Next up is the Hungarian Straight Key Contest, April the 9th from 1500 to 1700 hours. The Holy Land DX Contest, April the 14th from 2100 hours to the 15th at 2100 hours. We have the ES Open HF Championship on April the 15th, and it has several segments. It goes from 5 to 5:59, 6 to 6:59, 7 to 7:59, and 8 to 8:59. Don't know why they split it up like that, but I guess, hey, whatever floats your boat. Next up is the YU DX Contest, April the 15th from 1200 hours to 11:59 on the 16th. We have the CQ Manchester Mineria DX Contest, April the 15th from 1200 hours to 23:59 on the 16th. We have another QSO party, this one in Michigan, the 15th from 1600 hours to 400 hours on the 16th. The North Dakota QSO party also on the 15th, starting at 1800 hours and going to 1800 hours on the 16th. The Ontario QSO party starts on April the 15th at 1800 hours and goes to 500 hours on the 16th, then followed by 1200 hours to 1800 hours also on the 16th. And last but not least, we have the ARRL Rookie Roundup on single sideband on the 16th of April from 1800 hours to 23:59. All the information in this segment was taken from the WA7BNM contest calendar, which you can find a link to in the show notes of today's episode. All right, so next up we have our Hamfest. Not a whole lot of them this next 2 weeks, but we got a few of them. So let's go ahead and start on that. On the 7th, we have the Oklahoma Section Convention, Greene County Hamfest in Claremore, Oklahoma. The Ozarkon QRP Conference in Branson, Missouri. On the 8th, we have the CFARC 63rd Annual Hamfest in Chewauga Falls, Ohio. I probably butchered that name. Sorry about that. The Gulf Coast Amateur Radio Club Annual Hamfest. The new date for it, remember this was rescheduled because of bad weather. And this is in Hudson, Florida. The Memphis Free Fest in Bartlett, Tennessee. Mobile Hamfest in Mobile, Alabama. The PCARC Seacoast Flea Market in Hampton, New Hampshire, and the Yakima Hamfest in Salah, Washington. On the 15th, we have the April Hamfest at DeVry in Phoenix, Arizona. I wish I would have went to that when I was out there in college. If they had it back then, I don't know. We have the Flamingo Net UMARC Free Flea in Coral Gables, Florida. Ham Bash 2017 in Kansas City, Missouri. The Pawa Hamfest in South Portland, Maine. The Roanoke Division Convention, Raleigh Hamfest in Raleigh, North Carolina. And last but not least, TARC in Tampa, Florida. All the information on this Hamfest segment was taken from the ARRL Hamfest calendar, which you can find a link to in the show notes of today's episode. All right, so for the news, I found a couple articles that were quite interesting. Last week we talked about the DXpeditions, and it's kind of ironic that this thing came up in the ARRL newsfeed shortly thereafter. This was listed on the ARRL newsfeed on March the 31st, 2017. And it reads, Midway and Cure Islands are now deleted from DXCC entries. Kind of bad, kind of sad. But here's why. Midway and Cure Islands have been placed on the list of DXCC deleted entities affected August 26, 2016. So, almost half a year ago, or a little over half a year ago. This came about as an unintended consequence of action last summer by then President Barack Obama that expanded the... I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of this, but it is a marine national monument to include the northwestern Hawaiian Islands west of the Naha Island, making it the largest contingent protected conservation area under the U.S. flag. Midway, KH4, had qualified for DXCC status by virtue of it being governed by a separate administration. Because it's now under the administration of the Marine National Monument, however, it becomes a deleted entity. Approximately 50 people live in Midway, including U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service staffers and contractors. The Battle of Midway, a turning point in the Allied World War II Pacific campaign, took place in June of 1942. Now uninhabited Cure Island, KH7K, a part of Hawaii, is separated from the rest of the state by Midway. Because of that, it qualified for DXCC status under Section 2, Section 2, and then a couple other small sections of the DXCC rules. Separation from its parent, Hawaii. Midway Island changes it in DXCC status, in turn made Cure Island no longer eligible for DXCC status, since it was no longer separated from the rest of Hawaii by intervening land or islands that are part of another DXCC entity. I hope that y'all got that. That was kind of a little bit confusing to me, but basically it means that because Midway is no longer a separate entity, then Cure Island lost its status too, which kind of really stinks, you know? Losing two entities that are relatively easy to get to. Of course, Cure Island is uninhabited, but that just makes it a little bit harder, so you can't, fly into it or whatever. But, for all y'all DXers out there, of course, you probably already knew this, being that it was back in August when this went away, but unfortunately, those two things are no longer part of the DXCC entity list, and it has been deleted. So next up, we're going to talk about something else that we kind of talked about last episode when we were talking about the DX expeditions. Or the beacon networks, actually, when we were talking about this. And this is for the 4U1UN. And if you remember right, this is the United Nations call sign, basically, for the United Nations building in New York, I believe. This one was posted on March the 28th. And it reads, in part, talks of possible 4U1UN reactivation continues. United Nations Headquarters Amateur Radio Club 4U1UN representatives are still in talks with the UN Department of Public Information with an eye towards permanently reactivating the station. Although within the geographical confines of New York City, 4U1UN qualifies as a separate DXCC entity. Hopefully we'll have the opportunity to plead our case with the new administration as well, keeping our fingers crossed, said the Post this week in the club's Facebook page. 4U1UN might be back on the air soon. Earlier in March, the club alerted its Facebook page visitors to report that a pirate identifying as 4U1UN was operating on RTTY. The station was on the air for real in 2015 to commemorate the UN's 70th anniversary that fall. 4U1UN operated as 4U7OUN from a station set up at the ground level garden area within the UN headquarters complex. Unlike 4U1ITU at International Telecommunications Union headquarters in Geneva, 4U1UN typically is not open for guest operation, but is intended for recreational use by the UN headquarters staff. Max DeHensler, HB9RS, now SK, spearheaded the effort that resulted in the approval of a specifically designed UN headquarters amateur radio station in early 1978. The 4U1UN United Nations headquarters station was dismantled in 2010 due to extensive renovation by the Secretariat building. Security concerns and logistics have since stood in the way of returning it to the air. All antennas have been removed from the roof and equipment have been packed away. Options reported to be under consideration have included controlling the station remotely, putting the station on the ground level and running some 400 to 500 feet of feed line to the top of the building, or moving the station to another sovereign UN building. 4U1UN said that all contacts on or after January 1st, 2004 with 4U1UN have been uploaded to the ARRL logbook of the world. Thanks to the Daily DX for information in reference to this article. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. Basically, that just says that hopefully the ham radio station there at the United Nations building in New York will be back online soon. There is a link in the show notes of today's episode to the club's Facebook page for more information on that if you care to keep up with it. And that pretty much wraps up our news and pretty much the episode too. So I guess with that, I would like to thank everybody for stopping by and listening. If you like what you heard here on this podcast, please share it with your friends. And also, thank you to Paul Estes for coming on and talking to us. I apologize again for the lateness of this episode. I wish I would have been able to find out about it sooner to give y'all a little bit more heads up. But if y'all are so inclined to take a trip to one of the Texas state parks, make sure you bring your HF radio with you and make you some contacts. Again, all log entries must be submitted by May the 31st, and you can find where to send those and how to send those in the show notes of today's episode. If you would like to support this page financially, there are several ways you can do it. You can make a one-time donation through PayPal. You can find links to that in the bottom of the show notes. You can become a per episode supporter through Patreon, or you can simply shop on Amazon.com through my affiliate link. For those of you that already have done that, I greatly appreciate it. And also, you can order the QSL cards. I've got a couple other affiliate links on the website, as well as some that are in the works. Again, I want to thank West Mountain Radio and KB6NU for sponsoring this episode. And so I guess that's pretty much it. If you haven't subscribed to my email, make sure you do that. Basically, the only thing I send out really is updates to the podcast or any blog posts that I put. So you're not going to receive a whole lot of email from me. But if you want to receive an email when I publish a new blog post or a new podcast episode, you can do that super easy. Head on over to the show notes or everythinghamradio.com/subscribe. Fill out the form, click sign me up, and you'll get an email with a link that you'll need to click on. Follow me on Facebook. Started the new group. I've gotten quite a few people that have joined it, and it's growing every day. You can find that at facebook.com/groups/everythingham radio. I still have the page at facebook.com/everythinghamradio. I'm on YouTube at youtube.com/everythinghamradio and on Twitter at K5CLM. And that's probably where you're going to find mostly my interactions is on Twitter. So I guess that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you very much for listening. Please share this with your friends. And I hope that you take the time to go out to a state park here in Texas if you live here and activate one of them. If you don't live here, you can still participate, giving points to those that are. So until next time, this is K5CLM signing out. 73 y'all.